Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Thursday, September 11th, 2025. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Laverne Gardner had to leave us. We'll talk with her again next week. It's a special edition of the show today. We are getting deeper into this. We only had a brief time to talk about it earlier in the week. But this interesting dismissal of a case against a doctor who was accused of performing an abortion on a teenage rape victim, and that matter thrown out of the case thrown out. But still lots of questions about these types of cases, especially when rape is suspected, our rules around abortion. Equality Bahamas has condemned the decision to prosecute the gynecologist in the first place. And we're very happy to have with us from Equality Bahamas, Alicia Wallace. Good morning.
Here.
Okay, so now we're going to try to leave the politics out of this. So I hope we can. I hope we can. I hope our listeners can, because there were political implications about this, who the doctor was.
Right.
And it was very curious because I don't know, maybe you know, Alicia, whether we've ever tried to prosecute a doctor for abortions in the Bahamas.
I don't know.
Have we ever?
I don't think we have.
So this was odd, and just so in case you don't know, the doctor was the son of former Prime Minister Dwight Strachan, and this matter came up just maybe a year or two after the last general election. So that was always strange. But let's take that out of this. Is this where we want to go as a country when it comes to, especially in cases of rape? Should this even be should we even be doing this at all? So, Alicia, let's get your perception of this whole case in the first place, and what's happened over the past few days.
That the case came up was obviously very disturbing to us at Equality Bahamas, and we know that it starts with the law. We've been talking about the law for a few years now, calling for decriminalization of abortion in all cases. Of course, there's pushback on that, but generally people should be able to agree that abortion should be decriminalized in cases of rape and incest. And this case in particular, we're talking about a minor. Mm-hmm. This is a child under the age of 16
right.
who was raped, has no ability to legally consent. And to expect a child to carry a pregnancy to term under any circumstances is absurd and it's inhumane. Mm-hmm. So her family stepping up to assist her and finding a doctor, which is actually quite to help you to terminate a pregnancy, going through all these steps. And then
is it though?
It definitely can be on a family island, which is where this took place.
Right.
You know,
okay.
I'm sure that was not easy. It's difficult, first of all, to know that you can ask a doctor safely.
Right.
That's the first step. Mm-hmm. And what this case has done has actually made doctors more reluctant. Mm-hmm. When you start charging doctors, how are they going to continue to provide a service that we know is available, but not necessarily accessible and can't be advertised on doors and in brochures?
Right.
So we're creating a dangerous environment for women.
As the law stands now, abortions are only permissible if the mother's life is in danger.
Preserve
is that right?
The life of the mother.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And not whether they're either. No.
No, it's very, very restricted.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the law gets applied in a very uneven way.
Yeah.
And it really depends on doctors whether they're going to report something or not. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we all know people who've been able to access abortion for different reasons, and it's not always called an abortion, right? It goes by other names, and sometimes it's medically necessary. Many times it's medically necessary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So, what should we make of the fact that this got this far? And as we heard from, again, Dr. Minnis, the father was saying that this was a lot mentally on his son, a doctor, and I mean, in terms of legal costs and just a very trying time, that it made it this far before, I guess,
Before being
dropped.
Yeah.
Fine, let's put it like that. But
it raises so many questions, and it's difficult to follow cases, right? Especially if we're not getting news reports, we don't know what is happening behind the scenes. So we don't know if somebody decided, hey, this is a law, but it shouldn't be the law, or we're looking at the circumstances within this case, and it's understandable that such and such would have taken place.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't have enough details to say what has happened since the charges were brought to this point now, so that there are so many questions. But in addition to the questions, or maybe even more important than the questions, are some of the solutions that we need to be implementing, and we do need to deal with this. I mean, it's in a penal code. This is ancient. It is not responsive to the needs that we have today, and many countries have moved beyond this point. We know that so many of our laws are a result of colonization and us being told what to do, and at a time when it was the role, quote unquote, of Black people in particular to produce labor.
Yeah.
Right? So there are, quote unquote, reasons why people would be forced or have been forced generation after generation to give birth and to not have control over our bodies. And we're in a place now where we have a better understanding of bodily autonomy. We're not where we need to be, but we're getting closer to understanding that we do own our bodies. We should have control of our bodies and be able to make decisions for ourselves. And it's time to change these laws. And we've seen countries in the region able to do that. Barbados did it in the 80s. Guyana did it in the 90s. And here we are, 2025, still having conversations about women's rights.
Yeah. So when we talked about this earlier in the week, just very briefly, we didn't have much time, it came up that why abortion, there's so many other things that could be done, that she could give the baby up for adoption.
Like an incubator. She just exists to carry around a clump of cells until it turns into something else, and we can't deal with it at an earlier stage. No, we have other options earlier that are less traumatic.
Yeah.
Do people understand the cost of pregnancy? Even a wanted, planned pregnancy has a tremendous cost. We have been conducting research at Equality Bahamas for the past couple of years on the experiences of mothers from pregnancy through to the postpartum stage and what they're going through. And we've been following some of these mothers, and 2-3 years later, they are still having medical issues that they're having to deal with, having to see physical therapists and having surgeries to try to correct things that took place in pregnancy and in childbirth. What happens when you have to take time off work? You're forced now to take time off work.
And in this case, a child.
School.
To have to miss school.
And for everyone on the island to know, everyone has to know that you got pregnant, you were, impregnated by a rapist, and that you were forced to be pregnant, to carry a child to term, and then you're probably missing all kinds of school. Maybe you don't even feel like you can go back to that school, if any school at all. The costs are so high.
Yeah. So what does Equality Bahamas want to happen now? Where you have some demands?
We're continuing. We're continuing our advocacy for the decriminalization of abortion
across the board.
Across the board, under any circumstances. So that includes economic and social circumstances in the environment. We have to recognize that contraceptives fail sometimes. Sometimes people use contraceptives incorrectly because we're not teaching it in schools. We have people who are in unsafe situations. So maybe they want, then the relationship turn violent. Are they supposed to continue with the pregnancy under those circumstances and be trapped in a relationship, in a household, and then in a very long-term relationship with somebody who's now the father? There are so many issues that we have to look at. So we're continuing our advocacy for the decriminalization of abortion, but alongside that, continuing to call for comprehensive sexuality education in all schools at all grade levels to ensure that people do understand the contraceptive options that are available, can choose the right ones for them. And we definitely need to see the age of consent align with the age that people are able to access healthcare services and resources on their own.
Okay. All right. Let's take some calls.
Sure.
And text messages. Let's have a discussion. Let's be respectful and listen to each other's views. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Call us toll free, 242-300-5720. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 960 before we get to the calls. Okay, I want to go back to one of the points you raised. If you find yourself in a relationship that goes south or sour, and you happen to be pregnant, that one, I don't know if I agree or get what you're saying. Let's talk some more about that one, though. Why should that be? And you're talking about within the first trimester, or
Yes.
even
We're
during the first
generally
trimester?
talking about before the 12-week period. That's when it's safest to have an abortion.
All right. So, I mean, and you're talking about body autonomy, and if that's what you feel you want to do. But is that a good reason? I found out that my boyfriend or husband is a jerk now. Want
No,
to
not
have a
that he's a
baby with
jerk,
him?
but that he becomes abusive. It becomes an abusive relationship. So now you have to navigate not only trying to keep yourself safe, but also
that you could bring a child
fetus
into
and bringing
a
a
very
child
dangerous world.
Yes, and into a dangerous family dynamic.
There's no way to abort him, though. That's the difference. But okay, that one, I don't know about that one. But I hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you. But if you feel that is in your safety and the child's best interest, well,
So what happens if you are in a situation where there's domestic violence and you need to leave? What is your economic situation going to be? If you have been dependent on that second income living within this household, you're going to struggle. One of the reasons that women stay in abusive relationships is because they can't afford to move out on their own.
Right.
So having another dependent added to the mix can make it even more difficult for you to be able to leave.
Yeah.
So now you're depending on that person of a child that you don't actually need to have.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm thinking of
I
other
know,
options.
People won't be comfortable with all
Right.
of the reasons,
Yeah.
right, or all of the circumstances.
Yeah.
You might say that, okay, if it's to save her life, fine. Oh, if it's to preserve her health, fine. But I don't agree if there are fetal abnormalities. Right? You might agree if there are fetal abnormalities, and you might say, being underage doesn't quite do it for me. I think that children should be forced to carry a pregnancy to term. You know, people are going to disagree on these different circumstances and different reasons, but that we have to trust and respect the individual's ability to make the best decisions for
Right.
themselves.
How would you feel if we said, fine, to save the mother's life, to save if there are fetal abnormalities, rape, these are acceptable. Everything else,
And then we have to
no.
put incest in there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's under the rape umbrella, I would say, but maybe not. But sure, right? Yes, absolutely. Would that not be something?
That's a start.
That's a start.
That's a start.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more difficult for people to wrap their minds around the economic and social conditions that
Yeah,
might
I
lead
think
someone
so.
to make these decisions. But interestingly, those same people will complain about these people who need help going to social services and seeking assistance. And they will raise hell about a mother living in a car with her 3 children, right? But you are preventing people from making decisions that would keep them.
Yeah.
We can't have
I
it both
do.
ways.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk. On the phone lines are lit up. Let's go to the phones. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Hi. Good morning. You're on the air. Hi, caller. We can hear you.
Hey, good morning, Dwight. Your guest. How you doing?
Doing well.
This is a very, very, very touchy topic we're having right now, right? So I'll try to be as radio appropriate as possible about it and without hurting anyone's feelings, right? First of all, I don't agree with your guest, whereas that if you have problems in the relationship or financial reasons, because that you have an abortion. One, you know your financial situation prior to having sex. So if you have sex, right, what you think can come out? A fridge, a stove, a microwave? Of course you're going to have a child. So that's not a reason for an abortion. Second thing I want to tell your guests, right, you know how serious an abortion is? You realize you take the chance on not having a child again by having an abortion? A lot of females out there are now regretting having abortions because now they can't bear children. You know the consequences of an abortion? That's a very serious thing, and I don't think that you should just handily say, that just have an abortion just because you wish to. I think that if you decide to have an abortion, right, it should be a situation where it's rape or life-threatening, and the mother is first preference to survive other than the child. I think that's the only reason a person should be able to have an abortion. I'll hang up for you and wait for your guest response.
Okay.
That's not an uncommon position, not surprising at all. Mm-hmm. It's a myth that having an abortion prevents you from having children in the future. Mm-hmm. Okay, there are many reasons that people might have complications.
Go to a back room.
If you have an unsafe abortion, definitely that can reduce your chances, right? And when we criminalize abortion, we're pushing people to the unsafe methods. We want to make abortion safe. We want to ensure that people have control over their fertility, over their reproductive systems, over their reproduction. And providing access to abortion, providing access to a full spectrum of healthcare is a part of that. It ensures that, it guarantees that. Now, to the point about finances, you know how much money you have or whatever before you have sex. Well, number one, every time you have sex, you're not trying to have a child. Mm-hmm. There are unintended pregnancies, however you feel about it. You could feel like, well, these people should not be using the withdrawal method, or they should be doubling up on using a condom and using whatever ideas you have. There are unintended pregnancies. Do you really want to force everyone with an unplanned, unintended pregnancy to carry it to term, no matter what their financial capacity is to take care of the situation? Is that really what we want? I know a lot of people will say yes. It means then that the state has to step up. It means that we as taxpayers have to step up and pay up to support all of these families that are growing when they're not prepared for it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's take another call. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning, Laverne, and good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
You know, I wanted to ask a question. The laws that were passed concerning abortion. I'm not trying to be sexist, but is it the majority male or is it the majority female that came up with that?
That came up with?
Pardon me?
That came up with what?
The law ban abortion.
Well,
no.
I don't.
No, see, I asked it because, I mean, a woman's right to choose. And I understand that there are persons who are just really, really out there doing whatever, and then things happen. But they should still have the choice to choose whether or not, because, like you say, they know their financial situation, and in some cases, other reasons why they may not want to have the child. But I know, like you say, protection is all only 99%, none is 100%. But at the end of the day, I feel like my body, my choice, because even if I bring this child or was forced to bring this child to term, and then I can't afford to maintain the child after a while, who can help me with it?
Right, you're on your own.
Thank you. I'm on my own. So, and even if they help me the first year or two, I'm still left with 18 years to deal with it, or 21 years to deal with it by myself. So I don't think nobody should be forced to do anything that they don't want to do.
Completely agree with you, caller.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. This text here says, I wish we could hear the whole story. Why was the doctor even charged? Well, that is the great mystery. Who was the father of the child? Well, that is known. A
rapist.
He's a 24-year-old who is charged with rape now. He's accused of impregnating the teenager. So that is, we know. This person says their abortion is murder. Simple as that.
Abortion is healthcare. Simple as that.
This texter says, I'm extremely offended by your guest's petition to have abortion decriminalized in all cases. Life is valuable and should not be taken in any circumstance. Women have the ability not to get pregnant by taking a morning after pill and using condoms, the women, okay. If you want to lay down, you need to face the consequences. Some of these women walk around in skimpy outfits, oh boy, looking, and they should bear the cost for their decisions.
This is just getting worse and worse.
Oh, boy.
Worse and worse. I want to know what the men are going to do when women stop having sex unless they want to have children. Maybe that should be the next campaign.
You know, he was on, at first he was, but then he just, okay. Man, let's take this call. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Dwight, and good morning to your guest. I'm pro-life, and I believe firmly that if our parents had aborted us, none of us would have been here to even have this discussion. But rather than just call it abortion, Dwight, this is I guess mine for your listeners' information. Could you describe exactly what is abortion in terms of the mechanism and how it works?
Why
Maybe
do you?
we could get.
Why would
I
you
don't
want
get that.
that? Why would you think? Why would you want that? Why is that necessary?
Yeah, because when you say abortion, it sounds like just getting this thing rid of for fun, right? But it's a human life, and it's a defenseless heathen who can't defend themselves. And they are hoping for a responsible adult to see them through that particular, describe it, so we could get a better appreciation of what this woman is so casually advocating for.
Okay, so before she does that, so again, I know you have a daughter. The rape of a teenager, you think she should be made to have that baby if she becomes pregnant?
It's her choice, but I would prefer that the baby to be conceived and to come to fruition. I would have preferred it. Then maybe you can put it up for adoption or whatever if you can't really deal with the situation. But just to kill a defenseless baby, no, I don't support it. But and another thing, like I said, I would like for her to do it, but they do have some side effects on women. Women have intestinal problems. They have some health challenges do happen after abortion. So to say that it's not true, it's a myth. You know this. A lady was on your who called in. You heard her describe, I think it was your show or maybe one of the other shows, but she described what she's been going through after 25 years of having that abortion. So this isn't just a willy-nilly thing. And abortions for fun or just because they broke up in a relationship. A lot of people do these things for fun. They do it, but they don't.
No one is having an abortion for fun. Have you ever had an abortion?
A lot of people do it.
Let me tell you something. It's not fun for anyone. It is not a good time. An abortion is the termination of a pregnancy. It is a medical procedure. In most cases, do you want to know how an abortion happens?
Yeah.
Great. Most cases, abortion is medical, which means medication, pills are taken, sometimes by the mouth, sometimes they're inserted vaginally, and over 24, 48 hours, it begins. There are cramps, sort of like contractions, and the cells, because that's what it is, the cells that are gathered in the uterus, they are expelled from the body, kind of like a period, but more painful. And it can be flushed down the toilet. It's blood, it's little clumps of cells. There is no whole baby coming out because it's not a baby at that stage. Okay? This is happening at around sometimes up to 11 weeks. That's what happens. A surgical abortion is different and happens later on in the pregnancy, and that has to be done by a doctor. When abortion is not available, it's not accessible to people, then people go through unsafe methods. This is when we have women throwing themselves downstairs. This is when we have women trying to use wire hangers to remove the matter from their bodies. These are the options that are available to people. These are the options that people are going to use when they are desperate to no longer be pregnant and to not be forced to bring a pregnancy to term, to allow a baby to completely develop and to give birth and to be incapable of taking care of a baby, of taking care of a child, and not being able to access any public services that will support them in being able to do that.
Okay, some states in the U.S., I think it's 2. Minnesota is 1, for sure. They believe in late term 9 months up to birth, right? And in some instances, the baby survives, but it's placed on a table where the parents go back and they decide whether or not they want the baby to live
You
or
sure
die.
about this?
Yes, in Minnesota, for
Where
sure.
are you getting this from? What's your source?
This ain't nothing. This is fact. We could do the research on it, and you'll see exactly.
Text in the link.
Up to birth.
Text in the link to your source, and then we can look at it and talk about it.
Right, it's a family issue, but my concern is this, though. If a pregnant woman's life is interrupted or if she gets murdered, irrespective of how late she is in her pregnancy, the unborn baby does not count. Life does not count in the Bahamas. So exactly what are we doing? We got abortion illegal on one end, and on the other end, if a pregnant woman dies, is murdered, they only count one life. Does it make sense?
It doesn't. That's why we should decriminalize abortion.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I believe in those cases, as you mentioned before, if it's that late, it's to save the mother's life. And that would be the sole reason why that would be allowed to happen. All right, so I do want to say, before we get to this call, the previous texter who started to talk about what women wear, but if you noticed in the text, he said he was opposed to abortion, but felt that methods like the morning after pill would be. I mean, that sounds kind of hypocritical. It's the same, isn't it? The same thing.
The morning after pill is a great option, right? If you ended up, you had sex, you weren't prepared, you didn't use a condom, or you missed one of your birth control pills, something like this happens, and the morning after pill could be a good choice for you. Mm-hmm. It only works up to a certain weight of person. So there are some people for whom the morning after pill is not as effective. Oh, really? There's a chance that it will work, there's a chance that it won't necessarily work, and it's not really as simple as just doubling up the dose. So that's not really a complete solution to the issue. Sometimes you think that the contraception worked. You're not in a position to have the foresight to use the morning after pill.
And you don't know until a month or two later.
You don't find out until later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay. Let's take this call. Good morning. You're on the air. Hi. Good morning. Are you there?
I just want to ask you a question, right? You seem to be a very intelligent lady, right? You don't think that your parents at one point in time had financial problems? You don't think that one time ago they had a fight? But the point is to you, right? Suppose there's abort you. Suppose Perry Christie, suppose Mr. Ingram, mother did abort him. We would not have these great people. You don't know what your child can turn out to be in life. That might be the best prime minister the Bahamas ever had. That might be the best doctor the Bahamas ever had. That might be the best lawyer the Bahamas ever had. You just don't know.
So don't go yet. And again, I mentioned it earlier. This is the most controversial part of everything Alicia Wallace has said today. But other than that, if we're talking about rape, incest, what do you say in those circumstances?
No, I think in those circumstances, yes.
But what if they were about to be the best prime minister ever? What if the rapist baby was going to be the best prime minister ever? Then what?
Boy, like I say, the tricky is a tricky thing.
It's not that tricky. And guess what?
It's a very sensitive topic.
If my mother had decided to abort me, I think it would be okay. It would honestly be okay. The world that I'm living in right now, maybe I should have a conversation with her later about the choices.
Right? I go on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Bye. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Interesting question here on the text line. Should there be limits to the number of abortions a woman should be allowed to have, especially if it's paid for by the state? Many women would use abortion as a method of contraception.
Abortion is not cheap, and it's not cheap. People find the money at the end of the day because it's not as expensive as giving birth. If you check out what it cost at Princess Margaret Hospital, Worse Doctors Hospital, it's truly an investment in the future for somebody who is not capable of bringing a pregnancy to term and dealing with the life of a mother.
Should they be paid for by the state, especially if the mother's life is in danger or in a case of rape?
There should absolutely be support for all forms of healthcare that are necessary for people.
So back to the first part of the question: should there be limits?
Limits to the number
that you could have
of
like
abortions?
You already had 2 abortions in the past 5 years. No more for you. Or should we just?
We're not policing people's bodies. We should not be limiting people's access to healthcare. It's okay for you to have a disagreement about someone's supposed lifestyle, right? Or the situations and opinions that you want about that. We cannot put limits on people's access to healthcare.
This text, abortion is murder. Why are we the only species that does this? All animals that nature take their course. Text, I don't know if you're being serious here. Why are we the only ones that want to intervene with God's plans? Okay. Can you ask your male callers and texters how they believe their mental state would be if they were raped by a female or male?
That would be interesting.
Wow. Cells, not life, but clumps of cells. Wow. If she views life as a clump of cells, then your guest is just a clump of cells and needs to read a book. What happens? Yeah. Okay. Well,
Maybe if you see an abortion, you would understand.
these men need to how do I put this? Shut up, basically. I'm editing. They know nothing about women and their bodies. They have never been pregnant. And choice, exclamation mark. Wow. In my 48 years of life, I've discovered that children grow up to display persons like their fathers. I would never ask my daughter to bear the seed of a wicked or evil man. Bro, you sound like you are siding with this psycho of a lady. What's wrong with you people? Okay. All right. Let's take another call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, guys. How are you all this morning?
Doing well.
I have a problem with all the males calling in talking about abortion and kids having an abortion, right? Let me tell you, ask the males this question. If their 14 or 15-year-old daughter was raped by a psychopath, right? Would you allow or want your child to bring that baby forward knowing that this person is someone who is not fit for society? Come on, man. I know if it was me, I would have been charged for murder, all right? So at the end of the day, a young child that was raped by somebody who is a psychopath to the point that they have to rape all these women around, they have to rape a young child. And men here calling these talk shows talking about having an abortion, the effect. Listen, we'll deal with the effect after the fact because at the end of the day, that child life is ruined regardless. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the call. Another call here as we talk to Alicia Wallace with Equality Bahamas. Good morning, caller. You're live on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight, and good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
You know, I had to call back with the I don't know what he was running on with. You know, it's amazing. I like the gentleman that called just now, you know, because that would have been one of my questions. And the lady, you know, which one of them ever give birth? And the gentleman was talking about raping kids. It's not just kids that get raped, you know. It's also adults. It's also adults. And it's a mental thing on you when that happens to you. So to deal with that and have to tote the product of that rape with you, even if you bring it to term and give it up for for adoption, you know what that would do to someone's psyche? That is not fair. You understand me? And so much men have so much opinion on it. I will see the first one of them to tote a baby to term. Because I had 3 miscarriages, which is similar to abortion. I had 3 miscarriages, and that did a number on me. So I could only imagine what it would be to have an abortion. You understand me? So when one of them can open a womb and tote a child to 9 months, then you talk to me. Until then, sit small, let the women have this conversation. Find out from the men then why are they doing the nonsense they're doing to cause a woman to have to come to this for this option.
Wow.
And stop calling because you ain't a woman. You don't understand what we understand. So sit small, please.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, a few more calls here and a lot of text messages. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Hi, caller. You're live. You just went there. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Okay, call us back. 323-6232. Maybe they're listening to what she said. Stop calling.
Maybe they were like, you know what? Let me hang up this phone.
Oh, boy. Well, women, call in. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259, toll free 242-300-5720. Good morning. You are live on the air. Caller, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Doing well.
I think I'm listening to a lot of people talk, and like the gentleman that came on just now, and people need to realize you're talking about the effect on the woman, but not realizing that there's a child that comes into play. There's a child who
Can you turn down your radio for us, please? Turn down your radio for us.
shouldn't be punished because of what their parents did, and just because a parent might have had a negative intention or might have been a bad parent, that has no standing on how the child's going to turn out. Because a lot of us came from broken homes and we turned out very well.
I hear you. A product of rape, though. That's a little.
Products of rape turn out very well. Lots of products.
And
of rape.
still, we're talking about the realities of the women, the actual human beings who are carrying what are not babies yet, are zygotes, are fetuses, and at the stage of 8 weeks, organs are only just starting to develop. We are not talking about fully formed babies that can survive outside of the womb. And this constant use of the term baby, you're talking about a child. A child does not exist at the point in time that we're talking about in the pregnancy. It doesn't exist. Of fantasies about what a child might be is not a part of the equation when we're talking about a woman who's in a situation.
There's no way to unequivocally state and claim with all facts that there's no life there. There's no way to unequivocally state that.
No one said there's no life. I'm saying that's not a child and it's not a baby, and we have to be correct in our terms if we want to have the conversation.
Can you unequivocally state and guarantee that there's no life there at that stage?
That's not the argument that's being had. We're talking about the life of a person who has control of their body and within whom
without being sure
a set of cells, a fetus perhaps exists that is still forming, that does not have to fully form to be to a point where it feels anyway.
With all assurity that there's no life there, and you're willing to take that life without that surety, just because you're trying to avoid a possibly negative outcome. You're willing to carry out a guaranteedly negative outcome to avoid a possibly negative outcome.
An abortion is not a negative outcome for a person who does not want to have.
For the child growing in the womb, that's a guaranteed negative outcome.
It's not a child growing in the womb. It's not a child yet.
So what is in the womb growing?
So let me ask you this. So again, rape. If we're looking at the issue, you think that this is not a problem, that this person should be made to carry this.
Again, the rape is a bad thing that happened. Just because one bad thing happens doesn't mean that you should carry forward a plethora of other bad things to correct the bad thing.
Such as having a baby that you don't want to have, carrying a pregnancy to term.
And lead to a positive outcome.
Carrying a pregnancy to term when you don't want to is a bad outcome of an already bad thing.
Well, a part of being an accountable adult is doing things that recognize that not everything you do.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. A rape survivor is not going to be accountable for what a rapist does to them. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You want to do it.
Absolutely not.
No, not in this regard.
Incorrect.
Cannot,
Goodbye.
No.
People are not okay. This obsession with having a fantasy about what could be if the pregnancy is carried to term, completely disregarding the life of the person who is pregnant and who, in this case, we're talking about someone who was raped.
I don't know. That sounded like that was easy for a man to say that, right? Because you don't have to deal with it. But I think there are plenty things.
Finds it easy to say something like
things
that.
that you would not want to happen to you, sir. And just, well, I'm an adult. I'll just have to deal with it. No. Let's see if we can squeeze these in really quickly. We're almost out of time. That went by very quickly. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning to you and your guests.
Hi.
Very. I'm learning a whole lot. I really love Guardian University. Listen up. I think a woman should be responsible and make a decision for her body. I don't think it's anybody else's business because that's her body. And I feel as though there's a portion in the Bible that says, be fruitful and then multiply. I take that to mean if you can't afford to have this child, maybe you should protect yourself as much as you could because you're not fruitful enough to multiply. So I think if we approach this, and of course, you can have intercourse without ejaculation and still enjoy it. And you don't risk having a child because, I've been through it. And, Dwight, I firmly believe that intercourse should be for when you really want to have a child to the fullest. But if you don't want to have a child, then you protect yourself. Rape, man, what you bringing this child in the world for? To look at that and to remind you of that man who raped you? Man, that ain't going to be good for the female. So I'm really enjoying the show. And I believe that if you can't afford to have the child, don't have it. Simple as that.
Okay. All right. One final call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
All right. Good morning, Pleasant. Good morning.
Hi.
Interesting topic. First of all, the child that was raped, if that's the topic, I fully agree that you should be, because bringing that child to abuse that child, possibly, you understand, because that's a serious situation after you were violated. So I don't think that even could compare to just abortion itself. Okay? Then to the lady that said, until a man could bear a baby, and that's not fair. Because me personally as a man, to lose my child will affect me and damage me also. You understand? Now, accountability, I could be brief. Accountability is very important. Because talking about someone raped or talking about a minor that had a child, a minor is not mature enough to even really know what they're doing. So the parents have to take some initiative in stepping in there to say, if I'm prepared to be, because this child is a child. But adults that are knowing what they're doing, you're an adult. You're quite aware that intimacy without some form of protection or contraceptive will bring this baby. So accountability is very important. So now that doctors can differ if that's a life so far, but that human uterus, whatever you want to call that, that's growing, that human being that's turning into a human being in your stomach, it's not fair. First of all, the father and the mother needs to talk about that. But from you made that decision maturely, knowing what you did to conceive that infant, you understand now people need to grow up, get mature, hold accountability, because now you made that child, so now you have a responsibility to take care of that child. If the father is lousy, you knew that before you laid down with him. If that baby is sick and is going to have heart trouble, and it's a slightly different, and it's also a personal decision that only the parents can actually deal with. You understand? But my biggest point is to the fathers that want to say something and to the men that want to say something, that's fine, because I have my baby in the bed. I have 3, the most beautifulest kids in the world. And I don't know what would happen to find out that woman would have taken one of their life from them. You understand? Because I work 2 jobs to make accountability, take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah.
And step up to the plate and deal with these kids accordingly.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your call. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone who finds themselves in this position, anyone who becomes pregnant, has to be accountable in some way. And sometimes accountability means terminating the pregnancy.
Wow.
That is also accountability.
Really quick before we go, this texter, I'm not sure where you are, texter, what's going on with you, but anyway, they're saying how many children were born in this country who were the product of rape? Why are we talking about this? This is a non-issue in the Bahamas. Okay, I don't know where you got that from, and you wouldn't want to know the answer to your question. I think it will shock you. But they go on to say, let's talk about abortion as a choice and stop hiding behind the word rape. Can we legalize abortions for rape only with legal evidence of rape and remove the abortion on demand?
Keep wanting to put barriers. You're saying, yes, let's decriminalize it in the cases of rape, but with legal, you want to make it more and more complicated for people to get access to what, at the end of the day, is healthcare. Yeah. Abortion is healthcare.
All right. Well, while we are having this discussion and discussion is healthy, we're not seeing much movement from our lawmakers. And we're still stuck in laws that are ancient, highly antiquated.
Handed down by Massa.
And I do notice that Among the many things that former Prime Minister Minnis said involving his son, it wasn't about the need for reform on what we consider to be abortion or when it should be, which is very interesting. But anyway, Alicia Wallace, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Follow us, Equality
and,
Bahamas,
hey,
on Facebook and Instagram.
we need to continue to talk about these things so we can fix all the things that are not quite working the way they should be. Everybody stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.